I had a fairly good response to my V2 Buster Gundam video review that I felt compelled to review another one of the V2 Gundams that I've got, specifically the V2 Assault Gundam, which came out after the Buster version did. There actually is a reason why it's sitting in the back of my hangar, along with all the other S ranks and A ranks and B ranks and C ranks and other that I don't use. There actually is a reason for this. And I want you to keep in mind at all times that this is a rock. This is a close-range combat unit, which means it's going to have a 5-hit melee on it. And for being a common S-rank rock, that's got pretty doggone good damage for just one melee weapon. Now, I'd like you to keep this in mind about the V2 Assault Gundam. By the way, forgive me if I slip up on the phrase V2 Assault or V2 Buster. The V2 Assault is that it's a shooty rock, which is one of my favorites, by the way, because it's got that high mobility, that boost duration I like, but it's got a lot of ranged weapons you could deal with. I totally forgot to count how many shots that was. They actually changed quite a few things on the V2 Assault Gundam in January 2015, so, and most of it pertaining to this primary mode here, so. You know, that doesn't really look like long range to me. This actually genuinely does shoot long range, but I don't know. That was 4 shots, 5 with patience. So, and then they have the Victory thing, which is a grenade for whatever reason they've got that there. So, okay. Two shots and a medium reload. It's actually not too bad for a grenade weapon. So that behaves like that's 7 shots. Behaves like your standard beam rifle, and it reloads at exactly the same rate. But the difference is it is a long-range beam rifle. Good times. Forgot to do that. Has an alt mode with a beam shield. Seven shots, or actually that was, what, 9 shots? I think, did I goof that up? Let me recount that again, I'm sorry. 7, 8. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was 8 or 10 shots, something like that. And then another long-range weapon, except that this one penetrates, and it does knock down. Weapon 2 does indeed knock down. And as you can see, it also penetrates stationary to fire. It's so bizarre to see, for me, so bizarre to see a close-range combat unit with so many ranged weapons on it that can boost for these durations and these speeds. It's really weird. It's really unusual. But, yeah, this thing can totally do that. And not have it stay in the air for an unusually long amount of time. Like, this, for all intents and purposes, this should be a paper, just the way it plays. It should be a long-range combat unit, but it's... I don't know what Softmax was thinking when they made it a rock, like, or close-range combat unit. Like, that makes no sense to me. The melee damage is absolutely amazing, but this thing's a real beast. I mean, it really is. How much damage it can do in, or the variety of weapons it has. You know, the grenade, I don't like dumbfire, whatever. But it's got that long-range beam rifle that reloads fairly well, has good ammo on it, good firing speed. It doesn't make you stand still. That was kind of a big issue with me, is that the grenade always had 2 shots on it, and it was always a magazine reload, but the problem with it is it had a really slow reload. It was like, how much was it? 15-20 second reload on it. Just for 2 grenades, which made no sense whatsoever. But now it's a much more reasonable, I think that's 7 or 8 seconds right there reload, which is very reasonable. And the reload on this is just as good. This isn't really a spamming weapon, but it's very good for softening up targets. I'm not quite sure why they did the arrangement of weapons this way. But, yeah. It has very good ammo, and then you've got a beam machine gun here, which, you know, I love those things to death. And even though these drones won't reflect it, yes, that is a knockdown. So, it's really, really... I love shooty rocks, because they've got that boost duration I like, maybe not for jumping, but they've got that boost duration I like, that I crave, that is needed in SDGO, and yet at the same time there's a very large variety of ranged weapons here, without, you know, sacrificing it in order to give high mobility to a unit that's... Oops, I totally did that wrong. Get around him, God! So yeah, shooty rock. Very, very awesome. Actually, now that I think about it, I really should recharge this and move it to the front of my hangar and paint it up like it did the V2AB. It's pretty much going to be the same coloring, you know, as the V2 Assault Buster here. But I'm not reviewing the V2AB, I'm reviewing the V2 Assault. The biggest problem I had with this unit, and it's not just with the V2 Assault Gundam, there's actually a number of units throughout my hangar where this is an issue. Brave is also one of them. Is that the melee mode, I call it melee mode just because it has the sword on it. The problem I've got is that, or the problem that I had with the V2 Assault Gundam, the reason I banished it to the back of my hangar out immediately after I got it, is that Weapon 2 and Weapon 3 were both stationary to fire. You were forced to stand still. This had 3 shots and an unusually long reload for long-range penetrating. Didn't even knock down. It was just penetrating and went out to just beyond visual range. It still goes just beyond visual range. This weapon definitely goes way beyond. This is actually guaranteed long-range weapon, but this, it's kind of borderline meh, whatever. But the thing that bugs the hell out of me is that they were stationary to fire. In the melee mode, you don't want to be standing still. You absolutely do. You need to be able to strafe and shoot at the same time, because there might be a situation where you have to move and shoot at the same time and have ready access to your melee without having to transform. You know, if this was pure melee and it had a non-dash melee involved in there, or if it had non-dash melee attacks in there, okay, that's melee, because you could. That's non-dash melee because you can use it in a combination with things. But ranged weapons, I don't get that. If this had been long range, penetrates, knocks. If it was a knockdown weapon, okay, you need to be stationary to fire that. Okay, I get that. Fair enough. But this isn't, and it had an unusually long reload, and you couldn't even up until January 25th, or I'm sorry, early February 2015. When OG Planet patched all this, these were both stationary to fire, and I really, really didn't like that. And so here it is. It's sat in the back. Actually, here's my original one, because you can see it's level 10. This is, I can't remember where I got this one from. I think I got this from an event where collect these units and you get one of these, or maybe it was Gashapon, or I can't remember anymore. But actually, this is my original V2 Assault. This is the one that I built previously. It's level 10. I want to say I built that before G Generation in summer of 2013. But and 9 months ago in Korea, they fixed this by giving this the mobility that it needed. Now, don't get me wrong, the mobility on this unit was already really great. You can see right here, it's a very good stat. Not this bar means much of anything. I kind of ignore it, whatever. But this is melee mode. This is where your sword is, and to have it be stationary, that just bugged the hell out of me. And so that's why it's sitting back here. But now it's fixed, and now I can't argue with it. Still got that dumbfire on there, which I suppose they had to work the stand up to the victory thing in here somehow. I mean, it's already in the skill, so there it is. Booster capacity. Booster capacity is already amazing. Attack, increased attack damage, attack speed, increased attack what? I don't know. Search distance, whatever. Defense against beam weapons, awesome. Means you get an eye field, and that's an eye field in addition to this eye field, which reduces, what is it, 80 or 90% of all incoming beam damage from the front. Anyways, and unless I'm much mistaken, this shield does not break. When it's in this mode, the shield does not break. If it's in this mode, yes, the shield will break. But beam field will not break, and physically the shield will not break. It's pretty doggone rare. They have an unbreakable shield in SDGO. Now, it's only from the front, and you actually lose the shield on the side when you go to this mode, but still, unbreakable shield. Unbreakable physical shield. That's pretty doggone great. Anyways, what would I do with it? Melee damage is really great. This has okay damage. I don't use dumbfire. I don't care. Beam machine gun, it's okay. Honestly, I'm probably going to go with an attack build because I want to get that attack up. Now, being a shooty rock, it's also going to be something that's targeted very early on. It's got a lot of range. People who prefer melee units, you're not going to get this because this doesn't have a lot of melee weapons in it. You might not even choose to go to the alternate mode because alternate mode might be kind of the same thing for you. Weapon 2 here and weapon 2 here, kind of the same thing. The only difference is this has multiple shots, this is one shot. In fact, as of the patch, this is now, ironically, previously this had 1, 2, 3 stationary weapons where you were forced to stand still to shoot them. Now it only has this one weapon where it's stationary to shoot. So you've got a lot of mobility going on here, and you've got a good variety of line of sight weapons that you're dealing with here. You've got dumbfire. That's entirely up to you to decide how to use that things. But damage on this is not great. Damage on this, beam machine guns always seem to get the short end of the stick when it comes to damage compared to their standard beam rifle counterparts. But it's also got that high mobility, so probably what I'm going to be doing is, let's see, medium reload rate. Do I really want to? How would I do this? I've had a V2 Assault for years, but I never thought about how would I customize it because it's just kind of good all around. You don't have to worry about anything with it. So what would I do with it? Honestly, doesn't need reload up. Mobility is just fine where it is. And besides, you get a mobility up with the second skill anyways, and that's at what, 60%? No, what I can't remember. What's that at? 50%, so half HP. So it's going to be an attack type, so this and this go away. And what's this? No penalty when full burst special attack is used. What is full burst special attack? That no penalty when ranged special attack is used? No penalty, and by the way, penalty of what? Huh? I don't get it. What does that do? I don't know. I'm still not certain what that does, and I'm still not entirely certain what that does. But kind of the main reason I'm going for an attack type is because I wanted to increase the damage. That's pretty much the only reason I'm in here. But I mean, it doesn't seem to have any inherent flaws built into it. It really is a very round, very solid unit. I've got no noticeable complaints about it whatsoever. kind of predictable. Exactly the same thing as the V2 Buster and the V2 Assault Buster. So decals are in the same places there. Which is weird considering the shoulder armor is different on the V2 Buster. So when I color it, I'm going to go with this scheme just to make it match my V2 Assault. Or I'm sorry, my V2 Buster. Wait, how'd I do this? I don't remember. There we go. And then, I can't remember what this is on the V2 Buster, but I'll probably put, where are you? I'll probably put this here, because I can, because why not, because nobody will notice. Now, unfortunately, you have to deal with these admittedly kind of odd light blue panels here. Like, I don't know what those are for, but whatever. I don't think they're sensors. I don't know what they are. But yeah, ultimately, this is probably what the V2 Assault's going to look like. All the extra yellow gold. You know, it's kind of weird because the V2 Assault Gundam, all the model kits over years, this here, the additional assault parts, so the shield and the shoulder armor and the waist armor and the knee armor, they were gold. They're very obviously gold compared to the yellow on the V-fin and on this structure here. So to color all the yellow, oops, where is it? All the yellow in one go doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then why you would isolate just this, which by the way, when you transform the shield, it changes because the shield emitters pop off. So it's got a V there all the time. So I suppose I'm obligated to put that there, I guess. And then the yellow would do that. So, you know, Okay, so what would, not that I'm going to, but what's AV Unit 4 coloring going to be? And I actually went over this with myself a while ago. Let's see, that's the red bits, yeah. And I just decided, you know, it's not going to work very well if it's AV Unit 4. It's not happening. So there you go, AV Unit 4. Just kind of, the red kind of ruins it a little bit. Whatever, don't care. So yeah. I want to say with paint sets, it's kind of okay. Not sure. That's a nice one. That's usually a nice paint set. That kind of ruins it. And there it is again, yellow on yellow. I do not like that. So yeah, V2 Assault Gundam, well-rounded, and really, when I got this, when I originally built this 2-3 years ago, this was going to be a god in my hangar, just because it had so many ranged weapons, so many different types of ranged weapons, and it had that good mobility. The weapon arrangement says paper, and yet its boost duration says it's a rock. It's really strange, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised this one's is slipped through the hangar, or here he's slipped under the radar in terms of what Softmax delivers. And now that they fixed the stationary to fire aspect of these two weapons, it just makes it all that more amazing. This is probably one of the most shooty rocks I've got in terms of close range combat units that do a lot of shooting. There's one right there. Most people don't say it, but Double Riser, believe it or not, actually has more ranged weapons than it does melee weapons. Actually, it's kind of a tie, 3 and 3. But you know, I consider this a shooty rock. That's why I use that. Same thing with Gundam Harut. Let's see. I've got a couple of them. Not many, but I have a couple. That's a shooty rock. Get that out of there. What else? Infinite Justice Meteor. I would consider both of those shooty rocks. So yeah, I mean, and not really Justice Meteor. I would almost consider that a mid-range combat unit. Justice, that's definitely a shooty rock. So Strike Rouge. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a couple of units in there, but this is probably the most ranged weapon friendly close combat unit I've seen in SDGO, and it's pretty awesome as a result of it. Strongly recommended. And so, this is AV Unit 4A saying thanks for tuning in.